Hello and welcome back to Tales from the Age of Men. And we're here on the policy screen because I thought to myself, okay, well, we're going to take a look and see if we can maybe make a little bit of a difference with our vassals. Obviously, the vassals that we do create, which we're going to do in just a second, by the way, those ones are not going to have a significant amount of clan tier level. They're going to have to get that, which is actually kind of the reason why maybe some of the time you may want to consider creating a vassal very, very early on in your faction's life cycle, because then they can actually continue earning renown over the course of the time, where you may actually have a couple of setbacks. You might have, you know, some defeats on your hands and so on and so forth. So, you know, that kind of thing would actually make a big difference, because then that vassal is going to be clan tier 4 maybe, you know, and then they're maybe going to be a little bit more effective at leading things and just generally being kind of dangerous to the opponent. So as you can see, I actually did just institute castle charters, which obviously is just generally fantastic, and then noble retinues, obviously very good. It's going to be exceptionally good when people get to clan tier 5. I don't think I'm even clan tier 5, to be honest. So there's that. Council of the Commons, no, I don't think we're going to go for any of this. I actually, you know what? I think most of this stuff, I think feudal inheritance is actually relatively decent, but we're making so much influence right now anyway. I mean, maybe it's actually really good for our vassals. It might be really good for our vassals, but I don't think they are going to need that, to be honest. We also have hunting rights here. This is obviously extremely good if you are having problems with food production. Generally, this might actually, you know what? I am actually going to be taking this. I'm going to take hunting rights. Usually, I never ever want to take something that reduces loyalty. I am a huge proponent of loyalty increases rather than decreases, of course, because I hate rebellions. You know, anytime there is a rebellion happening, it wastes your time as a faction leader. It just wastes your time. It's literally like, oh yes, well, I must now go back into our own territory and try to recapture this thing from our own forces, basically. So yeah, that kind of thing is kind of difficult to deal with for me. But yeah, anyway, we are now here at Helm's Deep, as you can see, and I have an army that is relatively okay. You know, it's relatively decent. And what we're gonna do is we're going to be turning these two fellows into vassals. So we've got Mr. Faldor here. I wish to reward you for your services. Yes, and I am going to be giving you 4th Brond. Yes, you will have 4th Brond. There we go. I grant you the title of Captain of Sauron and the Fiefdom of 4th Brond. You richly deserve it. There we go. All right. And we're going to be calling him Cawdor. There we go. Cawdor. Get it? Yeah, okay. So, anyway, we did get... Oh, look at that. 20 skill points in Charm. That is actually really nice. I am very much wanting to get to 275 in Charm, if at all possible, even though it doesn't really do anything, which is actually a bit sad, to be honest. It doesn't really do much, but, you know, it's okay. Anyway, so we're going to do this. We're going to give him Entwad, I don't know. And, yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to give him that. I'm hopeful that Worgen will be able to defend this, because it has been under siege once by an army of around 200, which is obviously not very special at all. So I was able to defeat them relatively easily. But I'm not sure if he's going to be able to do that. That's the problem, you see. So we're going to be calling him Worgen Bolgen. There we go. Perfect. And yeah, so as you can see right here, boom, another 15 skill points in Charm. Obviously, if we were still a vassal or a mercenary or whatever with Isengard, it would be a lot easier to gain this Charm skill, because we could just, you know, donate vassals however we liked to their dungeons. But yeah, anyway, moral leader or natural leader, for me personally, I really like natural leader. If you are going to attempt any kind of trade, shall we say, or well, a trading or persuasion-based character would do very well with natural leader, because, look at this, -1 persuasion success required against characters of different cultures. That means you don't have to go through the persuasion minigame as long. You can literally get 1 or 2 successes. I think it's usually 2 successes, and then you're going to be fine. Maybe 1. depends on what you're asking them to do, obviously. But Natural Leader is absolutely fantastic. Moral Leader is okay, but it's more of a governor thing, really. And I personally like the plus 20% experience gain for companions. I think that's really, really nice. We're also going to be going for Public Speaker. Now, Public Speaker is, I believe, yeah, I think it does stack. I have done some testing on this in the past. It does stack with Famous Commander. Public Speaker, 30% increased renown gain from battles. Parade, on the other hand, is obviously amazing if you want to try to establish or stabilize a fief that you've just conquered that has an extremely low loyalty. Because imagine that you just wait there for, 3-4 days. That's 15 to 20 loyalty instantly. And you're not going to have to really do much to get that rolling. You just have to wait there, and that's probably what you're going to be doing most of the time anyway if you've taken a couple of casualties, stuff like that. So Parade is really, really good in that sense. However, I am going to be taking, I hope, the wonderful stacking Public Speaker, because then we can get 80% additional renown, which is going to be very, very nice. Now, we also have Camaraderie here. Now, Camaraderie is our next perk. And there's no choice, all right? There's no choice here. Now, for me personally, I don't really know why this would really be a thing. Like, yeah, okay, fine. Double the relation gain for helping lords in battle. Sometimes this is obviously going to be extremely good, and other times this is going to be basically pointless. Which I guess is fine, but I feel like it's a little bit too situational for my liking, so generally, when I am looking at perks, and especially a perk that you can't choose between, there are no choices. You just have to take that one, When you have to take that one or take a perk that is just a singular choice, it kind of says that this perk should be the most amazing thing in the world, or at the very least should be applicable most of the time. But from what I've seen, that perk is not applicable most of the time, because, let's face it, you're not really going to be helping that many lords in battle, or maybe you are, I don't know. It very much depends, I suppose. Anyway, we did actually get another, perk point in scouting, so let's actually have a look here. Whoa, okay, yeah. So, this is another one of those times, I don't know why this, why is this episode all about me talking about perks? I'm sorry about that. If that annoys you, or if that's boring to you, I'm sorry. Generally, I find it interesting, and hopefully you do as well. But if you don't, then, well, I'll be done in a second. Mounted Scouts, so much better. +5 party size limit, plus 10% sight range. I mean, obviously the sight range isn't really that useful, but patrols is basically it's useless. It's absolutely useless. There is no point in 5 battle morale against bandit parties. Who cares about that? Who cares about that? That's not going to make any difference. And 10% advantage against bandits when troops are sent to confront the enemy. That's auto-resolving against bandits. If you have 150 in scouting, and you are still, let's just say, if you're still having issues auto-resolving against bandits, then just spend a little bit of time, just spend a little bit of time getting additional forces, and you're going to absolutely crush those bandits. You're not going to need 10%. 10% battle increase or whatever it is yeah, it's just absolutely awful. That would be okay at a much lower level of scouting, and I'm talking about maybe at 50 or 75 or something like that. But 150 skill points in scouting for something like that for me feels like a pretty big waste, to be honest, and it's a waste of a perk. You know what I mean? It's a total waste of a perk. Anyway, I'm actually going to be moving on over to Thornhope here. I know I said I was going to be taking Edoras, and I was going to be attempting to do that, but I actually realized that this is way too close to pretty much everything else. You see, if I were to strike here, it would be an exceptional blow to the opponent. It would be extremely good for us to do that. Don't get me wrong. It would be very, very good for us to go in there and actually do something about Edoras, because it would literally, well, it would basically win us a lot of future battles. It really would. It would do so much to actually sway the war in our favor. But because of the, shall we say, so many people just going by there because there are so many thieves in the area, it makes a huge difference to how much resistance there is. And because this thief that we're currently at is so far away from everything over there, from the central area of Rohan, it's actually going to make a huge difference to everyone else. So for example, now that we have our vassals, I'm very much hoping that our vassals will be going and they will be attempting to try and recruit from as many places as possible. Hopefully they're going to be having relatively decently sized armies. I'm hoping that they're going to have about 150 to 200 units. Maybe they'll even have more than that. I actually don't know. But if they do have more than that, then I'll be very, very pleased, because maybe they themselves will decide that they want to call for an army and they want to go and take Edoras, because it is actually weakened. Just bear that in mind. And because the AI has that really wonderful, shall we say, calculation that they tend to make, if there is a thief that has low walls HP or low food, usually the AI will see this and they will immediately prioritize it. So they are actually pretty good when it comes to that. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing if they're able to do something. You can see here, though, someone actually did something really, really cool. I think it was Faldor. Faldor actually... Oh, look, look, look. Wolgan. Wolgan is actually taking stuff. That is amazing. Yeah, he's actually taking people prisoner too. So Faldor and Wolgan have won their first battles. And I got to say, I'm actually really, really surprised about that. I was half expecting them to just go in to... some random battle somewhere or another and just get themselves immediately eliminated, but no, they're actually doing pretty nicely. Now, this is going to take us 11 days to starve out the garrison here, which obviously is going to be kind of harsh. Oh, whoa, 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 wait a minute, what's going on here? These guys are absolutely slaughtering our trebuchet. Wow, that's actually really surprising. I guess it is because they have so many ballistas, and they're actually focusing on ballistas. Ah, no, never mind. Okay, they're done now. Yeah, so this is actually a really, really good strategy, and generally would have probably been very, very good for them if they had continued it. Maybe, actually, they might still be able to defend against us. You could see that right here. Basically, what they were trying to do is, because trebuchets have such a low rate of fire, what you could technically try to do is just build... well, I don't know, 2 ballistas, I guess, 2 ballistas and 2 catapults, and just hope and cross your fingers that the trebuchets of your opponent are going to be targeting your ballistas rather than your catapults, because obviously if they attack the ballista, you can just remake the ballista in 2 seconds, whereas a catapult obviously takes a lot longer to build. So in that way, maybe that's what they were attempting to do, you know? Maybe that's what they were trying. And it actually was working very, very nicely. As you saw there, if they had continued with that strategy, I think they actually would have probably done pretty well. But obviously they might have fallen behind. They might have fallen behind on the building speed or something like that. Ah, Entwad is actually being attacked. It's actually being besieged right now, so I'm hopeful that our forces will come over there and attempt to defend it. I hope, at least. Yeah, I mean, they're actually doing really, really well. I mean, you can see from the text log, basically, our people are defeating people, left, right, and center, so it's actually really nice. But obviously, we have to be careful, because there are going to be large armies that will try to tear them apart. Alright, so, Entwad is actually still under siege, and we have now starved out the garrison at Thorn Hope. This is basically the most important thing for us right here. I did actually lose a handful of troops to the siege bombardment casualties. I've always really, really not very much liked the siege bombardment, shall we say, mechanic? I don't know whether you can call it, yeah, I guess you can call it a mechanic, but yeah. I never really liked that mechanic because it's basically just random, It's basically just random what you end up losing, and I'm not a big fan of that kind of randomness, because imagine you've spent your... I mean, this is obviously just an example here, but imagine you've spent a lot of your time trying to level up your troops, and eventually you get some troops that are super, super good, they're the highest tier that you could possibly get, and you then go into a siege because you think to yourself, oh yeah, my army is looking really strong right now. I should have a great opportunity to take this first fief for myself, and you know, I'm going to be really proud of myself, you know, sort of thing. You go in there, you start the siege, you do some siege bombardment, and you end up taking some casualties from the bombardment of your opponent. And it just so happens that those units that you've spent long time leveling up, they're the ones that died. Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. That can happen, you know, that can happen, and it's actually really bad in my opinion. So generally, obviously, siege bombardment, you don't really want to be doing that often, but we did end up losing a lot of people due to that mechanic because of the wonderful strategy that they used. They actually used the wonderful ballista strategy that I was talking about, and they seemed to actually do quite well on that, and then they apparently started losing for some reason. I don't know why, but I guess it's because they just couldn't keep up. If they had a decent amount of engineering skill, they probably could have done a pretty decent job and actually continued doing damage to us like that, which would have really made a massive difference, but thankfully they didn't, and they weren't able to keep up with that. But yeah, otherwise, let's just slaughter the opponent. And wow, I'm actually surprised I'm living through this, to be honest. As I've said to you time and time again in this series, I do feel as though Rohan has some extremely good militia, and they're actually I'm actually surprised that we're not encountering that much resistance right now for some reason. I actually have no idea what's happening here, because in previous sieges I have had big issues, actually. Big issues staying alive, because the opponent is just on you. Like, straight away. As soon as you get into the walls as a solo player, the enemy is just going to be right on top of you, and it's going to make everything very difficult. So I'm kind of a bit perplexed as to why that would be all of a sudden, but I guess it's because there's a lot of archers here, and they're not in position. If they were in position right now, I think we would be basically dead. I think we'd be dying. I mean, maybe not that easily, because, I mean, as you can see right here, we've just completely destroyed the opponent. In every single way, actually, yes, in every single way. And, yeah, we can come down to the docks and look around. And, yeah, it's actually some very nice scenery right here. But, yeah, anyway, there you go. Look at that. 70 renown. 70 renown. That's actually really nice. I believe that is indeed taking into account the 80% that we are getting, or at least I hope so. I hope we are actually getting that. Anyway, I'm going to take all of these, because why not? 595 prisoners. That is insane. That's exactly what you're going to get if you starve out the garrison, because you're going to be getting all of the garrison's troops at that time. You're going to be getting all of the garrison's troops, and it's actually incredible, the amount that you can get from that. And imagine you're doing that, and then you're also having roguery skill. If you have focus points in roguery skill, that's obviously going to be exceptionally good. Let's actually just take a quick look. Do I have any? No, I don't have any vassals. Okay, so we're just going to ransom all the prisoners. Look at that. I got 15 points. 15 points in roguery skill, and I have no focus points in it. I have no focus points in it whatsoever, which is actually incredible. Because imagine if I had focus points in it. Probably would have been pretty crazy. We're going to go for a decisive battle here. Yeah, that's really good in my opinion. I mean, extended skirmish is really good if you're going to be fighting in forest terrains. Generally, I feel like we're mostly fighting in plains and steppes, but I could be wrong about that. I don't really know. But I guess it's not really going to make too much of a difference, because we are, in fact, probably going to not be auto-resolving that often. Alright, so what we're going to do here is we're actually going to stop all of these. The militia grounds could probably be done 5 days. I mean, that's really not that much. So we'll do 5 days. We'll just slap a little bit of extra money in there. And then we're going to go and sell, because they probably have quite a bit. Yes, they do. Okay. Let's see. Let's sell everything here. There we go. 47,000. That's pretty nice. And then we can move on. Okay, we're getting a nice little auto-save here. Okay, so War of the Ring. War of the Ring is still at the top here. By the way, I did not realize this. I think I did this off screen. But I just want to show you something, because I am an imbecile for not trying this before. But you can click on this at the top here, right? You can click on this, and this is what it gives you. It gives you a menu of basically every single thing that has happened. And obviously this menu is not exactly finished yet, because as you can quite clearly tell, it doesn't have the correct stats for army gathered, battles won, etc, etc. But it does have the stats over here for enemies killed, settlements captured, villages raided, and so on. So that's, in my opinion, extremely fun. I love screens like this. Whenever you get the opportunity to actually see a breakdown of what has actually happened, and actually see, like, you know, for example, how many battles were won, how many enemies were killed, I always really enjoy that. And I think, yes, look at that, you can actually click on these guys as well. That is extremely cool functionality, in my opinion. So basically, yeah, you can click on these anytime you want, and it will take you to the encyclopedia of the faction itself, which I think is very cool. I love that. Okay, so as you can see, Entward is actually still under siege. Very interesting. And we're going to be giving this to Mr. Woolgan, because he already owns Entward, which is actually really close by, so I think that makes sense. And we're going to be giving it to him. And then once we, let's see, I'm going to try and take this if we can. And here we go. It has happened. Every single person in the garrison has been starved out. And of course the wolves have been eliminated, as I am making sure that we have the highest rate of success at this point, because we don't really need to. This is exactly what I was trying to talk about here a little bit earlier in the episode. We do not need to rush. We don't need to rush. And that's the whole point. We don't need to rush with these particular sieges, right? And these ones, you know, in particular, they are so important to take away from the front line. If we were at Edoras right now, we'd probably be I don't know, I feel like we'd be getting clobbered by loads of different vassals just walking by randomly. But because we are in this particular location, it's making so much difference to our momentum. We're able to maintain our danger level, as it were. And I'm getting shot by that guy up there. Not a terribly big fan of that, so I'm gonna have to be a little bit careful. I've taken quite a lot of damage this time around. Not a big fan. As I said, if archers get really good positions, they can literally just absolutely win the day for the opponent. They can do so much. Let's just do this. Let's try to do that. I have such a fast two-handed right here that this is pretty crazy. There we go, there we go. Oh, hello. Don't get shot in the face. There we go. Nice. Nice. I'm just trying to keep them guessing about where I'm going to attack so they cannot block it all the time. There we go. Yes, there we are. Nice. And I believe that is indeed a victory for us, just from the fact that I have survived. And I feel pretty confident about that. Generally, if I get killed within the first, I don't know, 15 seconds of being in the actual, you know, thick of combat, then usually that means that we're going to have some issues, because that means that they've got some very good defenses, good archers, big presence of infantry. You know, that kind of stuff really makes a big difference. But in this case, they were still able to deal pretty good damage, and we're actually leveling up our athletic skill, as you can see right here. I'm at 264 right now. If I can get to 275, I will be exceedingly pleased, because that's going to actually provide us with so much extra survivability. There we go. Balrek has leveled his medicine skill to 175. I'm actually really surprised he's leveled that up so fast. But I guess we have been consistently in battles. And I believe he does have Doctor's Oath. So that obviously makes a big difference too. And after this, well, I'm actually not entirely sure where I'm going to head to, because I think there is a fief nearby, but I'm not actually sure where it is. I know it's nearby, but I'm not sure which direction I'm going to need to go into. So we're going to take a look after this. I'm not going to take any prisoners because otherwise I'm going to have to go to the nearby town to sell them, and I don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to leave them over there. We're going to... I think we'll take the loot. And leveling up our leadership skill. Ooh, yeah, very nice, very nice. I'd like to get to 275 in that as well, but it is going to take some time for us to do that, of course. All right, so let's just slap a little bit of money in here. I'm not going to put too much in here, but I'm going to put a decent amount. And we're going to... Whoa! They've actually leveled this up very, very dramatically, as you can see right here. We're going to switch this to irrigation as well, because we don't really need the loyalty. At least I think so. Maybe, I don't know, it depends on the security, I suppose, of the place as a whole. So yeah, as you can see, yeah, no, there is Stoberg. Okay. They have actually taken Entward now. Okay, well, that's unfortunate. I was kind of hoping that that would not happen. But Wolgan does have another fief, so we don't really need to worry about that. Oh yeah, by the way, we're running out of food, as you can see by the message that we have slaughtered some animals. Yes, that's obviously a bit of a problem, isn't it? Okay, so I'm going to move on over here. And Wolgan is going to get this as well. Obviously, Faldor just has to deal with whatever he's got going on. I unfortunately cannot give him any fiefs at the moment, because otherwise it's going to be way too far away for him to deal with that. And let's have a look at the food supplies here. Do we have any? Yes, they do have a pretty significant amount. So I'm very, very pleased about that. That means I can literally just transfer a whole bunch. There we go. I'm going to need them, of course. If we're going to try and starve this one out as well... Oh, actually, wait, maybe not. The food stock in this particular town is going to be basically nothing. They only have 100, so their granary must be level 1 or something like that. Maybe even level 0, which would be kind of odd. I feel like that would be kind of weird, because they have had ownership over this fief for quite some time. So I would have expected them to, well... build it up quite nicely, but apparently not. I don't know. Yeah, so Entward, let's actually see what's actually going on here, to be honest, because, yeah, the garrison is basically nothing. Technically, we could take that back very, very easily. But I am, as I said, I am focusing on towns as much as possible here, because even if the town were to get taken back, or the castle were to get taken back, or whatever, it doesn't really matter. As long as we can eliminate the majority of the garrison, and then we can, you know... force the opponent into reacting to us, you know, stuff like that. That makes a huge, huge difference in, as I said, momentum. It actually makes a huge, huge difference. Okay, wait a minute. Ooh, we finally have some people coming over here. I see. Okay, so what they're going to do is they're going to call for a campaign. They're going to call for a campaign over there, and they're going to try and take the town and the castle that we've just taken. Obviously... we can only hope that they're going to take quite some time to do that. Unfortunately, because of the fact that I had to destroy the walls and I had to starve out the garrison and stuff like that, it is actually going to make things a bit more, well, a bit trickier, shall we say. A bit trickier for our forces, because they're going to have to deal with the fact that the walls are destroyed and so on. Now, we do have a very interesting situation here, because now look at what we've got going on. We've got an army... attempting to attack us. This is obviously fantastic for us. This is not bad at all. If another army appears, however, then that's going to be a problem. I'm hopeful that what we will get here is another vassal. I just need one more vassal of about 100 troops or so, and that is going to force the AI into a decision. And if they do decide to go in, then I'm going to be very pleased. But I do need to starve out this garrison. If I don't starve out the garrison, I'm going to be facing 424, and these guys are going to be crazy good. I mean, you can see here that they have lancers, they have king's riders, they have a bunch of very, very good troops, and I don't really want to face those, if I'm honest. I would much prefer to, you know, avoid that if at all possible. And generally... wait a minute, what is actually going on here with these guys? It says they're patrolling. They're not actually defending. That's kind of weird. Yep, there we go. There we go. There's the vassal that I said. Yep, there we go. They just needed one extra vassal, and that was all that they needed to go in. Oh, they're actually going in with the garrison. Oh, okay. They're going in with the garrison. Well, that's going to be very interesting. That's going to be extremely interesting. I don't know whether we're going to be able to achieve victory here, to be honest. This feels a little bit dicey, but I mean, the fact is, we do have extremely good troops right now. I don't have any archers, by the way. I've actually phased out archers for some reason. I don't know why that happened, but yeah, we're going to put our forces into a shield wall formation here. I barely have any cavalry as well, so it looks to me like this is going to be a largely defensive battle. Ooh. Yeah, this is going to be a problem. This is going to be a problem. We're going to have to put them in square now. And we're going to have to move my forces. Whoa, they've got a lot of cavalry. Okay, we're going to have to move my my Uruks over here, I think. We're going to have to put them on the hill. I don't really... this is bad. This is very bad, actually. The fact that they have so many horse archers and generally so many ranged troops is going to make things exceedingly difficult for us. All I can do here is just try to do as much damage as possible with taking as little as possible. I know usually that's not a priority for me, but actually it is a priority in this situation for sure. Because if I don't, you know what's going to happen, right? I'm going to die, and then all of our forces are going to just go into an auto-delegate, and that's going to be exceedingly bad. So yes, I can only hope that I'll be able to at least do some damage. Nice. Not bad. Ooh. Yeah, this is... Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan. I'm not looking forward to this. I'm not sure... Should I tell my forces to charge, though? I think... Yes. Actually, you know what? Let's do it. Let's tell my forces to charge, and then we're going to tell them to hold position again once we've killed a significant number of the opponent. That's what we're going to do. Nice. We've killed an enemy leader. That's really, really nice. That means that their morale has taken a bit of a hit. Hopefully a little bit more than a little, but you know. Yeah, okay. That's... are we looking okay? Are we looking okay? Yeah, I think so. Basically, all I wanted to try to do was just clobber the cavalry. That's it. Just try to clobber the cavalry. The ones that were kind of lurking on the outside of the skirmish area. That would make a big difference. At least I hope so. Big damage. Big damage. Oh, how did I die? Okay, that was a polearm. I think that was a polearm or something like that. That is really, really bad. Okay, well, I couldn't do much about that. I mean, you saw it. I died instantaneously. There was nothing I could do. So that is very, very bad. That means that we are going to have some huge issues now. And my forces are probably going to end up... you know what? Can I retreat and go back in? I kind of hope I will be able to. Maybe I can. No, I cannot. I was kind of hoping I'd have a little bit of HP, but I'm going to have to do this. Yeah, we're going to have to do this, which is really bad. I did not want to do that, obviously. But we're going to have to move back in this direction. Let's see if we can escape. Yes, we can. Funnily enough, these fellows are actually much, much faster than me. So if they did pursue us, we would be able to... well, we'd probably get caught relatively easily. So there you have it. It just goes to show that even though that battle was firmly in our favor... The one thing that killed me is a polearm, and as soon as you die, as the player character, everything just falls apart because you have very little control of what you're able to do afterwards. Obviously, there are a number of mods that you can install. I know. You can install these mods and you can make it so that you can control your forces after the battle is over. But some of the time I generally don't like to do that because it's a little unrealistic, you know? It's a little unrealistic, and I personally like to just keep things a little bit simpler in that regard. I want to make sure that if we do end up dying, we suffer the consequences of that. Because I find that a little bit more interesting than if we were, you know, for example, if we were to have won that battle because I was able to command my forces through the ether of death, then, you know... I'm not sure. I feel like that would have been fine, obviously, but I kind of like the dynamic that we've had here, where I am literally now having to go back to a little bit of the drawing board here, and I'm going to recruit some people from in and around this area, and then we're going to be going back to Stoberg and actually seeing how we can do. But yeah, obviously Entward not particularly pleased that that was taken, but we've got 2 new vassals. We've taken well, we've basically taken quite a few things here. Actually quite significant gains in terms of territory, and bear in mind that Stoberg is actually really not that hard to take, or at least shouldn't be that hard to take once we starve out the garrison. Then we can take Entward as well. I'm going to take that back off screen, actually. And I'm probably going to make my way back up to Orthanc, all things considered, because I do want to continue recruiting from Isengard itself. It's going to be a lot easier. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.